Here we are for the April 11th Rotary meeting where we have a number of past presidents with us. We'll kind of zoom around the room. That's Joe with his head to the back of us. But great to see such a great crowd with us and former presidents and past members. Got Harold with us, our longest serving R85.
Going, I'm going to have a special presentation of the students who've made our food today. So I'm going to have them introduce themselves. As the club that you know, the Little Grange Rotary Club has been committed to student success for as long as I've been aware of it. And I'm sure this history today is going to prove that. I'm really thrilled about having our students come and introduce themselves. So students coming up, I want to know your name, what school you went, and what you have the course today. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Eva, and I'm from OC.
You're close.
No, you're fine. I'm from OC, and I helped with the cooking.
Hey,
I go to OC, and I helped with the cooking.
yay.
Hi, my name is William, and I go to South Oldham. I help with the cookies.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. I go to OC, and I helped with the cookies.
Hey. More cookies.
Hi, I'm Zane. I go to OC. I have prepared the chicken.
All right.
I'm Matthew. I also go to OC, and I help prepare the beef stew.
Thank you all very much. It's a treat to have you guys. Thank you.
So, oh,
You might have.
it'd stay solid green. Yes, hold it down for like 2 seconds. Yep.
All right, friends. Please stand. Thank you for being here today. Blaine is going to fix my mic for Zoom. And yes, we are fully in the 20th century. That fell flat. I knew it would. All right. So, invocation. Robin, would you please lead us?
Yeah, any special request about the families of the victims of Old National?
I'd like for us to continue remembering Margaret and her family, Margaret Horson.
You bow your head with me. Heavenly Father, we come, and as we have just finished celebrating Easter, the fact that the grave was empty, that you proved you have victory over death, and death no longer has a hold on us. Our hearts ache for those that have been affected by shooting, that we need you so much. So Lord, may your spirit come upon, be with those families, the loved ones of those that have passed, those that are in the hospital and struggling and recovering. Lord, may your grace be upon them, and you provide healing and restoration to them. Lord, in this room, we have many people that have poured in years of service, and Lord, we thank you for those that that went before us and done the work to build the foundation of the strong club, and we continue to carry that forward. May this be a sweet time of both fellowship. May the food strengthen us, and with that, and we would honor you in all things. We give you the time, and thank you, Lord, in Christ's name. Amen.
Thank you. I'm going to lead us in the four-way test. Is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? In the pledge.
United States of America. Indivisible.
Al, would you come lead us?
You probably don't need the words, but it's song number 64, page 88. One of Harold Smith's favorites. Amen.
All hail to Rotary. Ollie Howard started all hail to Rotary.
All hail.
He did.
All right. Tommy's here and we don't have a piano. What happened to our piano?
I can go get it.
No, that's not, we don't have time, and I can do this one. All right, ready? Sing out a song of Rotary, echoing throughout the land. Give up yourself to serve another with a helpful Rotary. Working together. Remember our purpose grand. Sing out a song of Rotary. Throughout the land.
I mean, we can put the piano back in here for you to be here anytime.
Yeah.
Amen. Yay. Go move.
So this is, feel free to have a seat. Today is a special guest day. So I'm going to save most of our guest work for in a little while, but I do want Al for you to introduce your parents again. They're in the process of becoming members. Please go ahead.
Good to welcome my parents Al and Myra Early.
That's great. Any other guests other than the special guests that we have? Oh, yep, Mike.
My wife, Mary Jane.
Nice job. Thank you. Glad to have you very much here today. All right, we've got visitors and guests, so happy Bucks, General, please.
There has to be some happiness in this room. Miss Jane, I just wanted to share with everybody that my real estate team is having a recycling shredding day, free shredding. It's in the Hertzhorn area near J-Town. And we're having free donuts and coffee, and of course you get to do all your free recycling. So come on out and cleanse your homes. Excellent. Good job, Jane. Thank you. Anybody else? Oh, yeah, an old friend. I'll come back, Raymond.
I got a lot to say, so Barbie. He said, kindergarten is very much then we have slum. I just want to apologize to each educator that's in here. Be free next week. I am getting two granddaughters.
All right.
I'm getting Presley Hope and Baylor May because I'm getting Jane. Yeah. Oh, awesome. Yeah, we're so happy. His name is Mark.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Where do I need to go next? For a happy one, Raymond.
Each year, probably late February, middle of March, we sit and wondering, is he gonna do it again? Is he gonna have this charge? I know it's like, a lot of work. Where else could you have that much fun with club?
It's Sandy. Well, our happiness.
Yes, I have no idea. One of my 3 children is finally gonna make me a grandparent. My youngest, Mary, and her husband are expecting in November.
Oh,
So,
All right.
good, thank you.
So my happiness primarily is that I'm actually here today. For those of you that don't know, in the beginning of January, I decided to donate equipment. And while I was in, they appropriated my intestines. And that has been a heck of a journey that I did not anticipate. And it's interesting how the Lord works, honestly, in my opinion. My plan was to donate a kidney in January, and none of you would have known about it. And I was just going to continue on the walk of my life. And having the complications that arose from that, I had no choice but to turn to my community for support. And I got a lot of it. I really appreciate that. And a lot of words of prayer and support. And so I'm just really thankful for all of that. And I'm thankful that I'm here today because I've heard that I'm incredibly lucky to just have survived the experience. And so I'm thankful for that. And, you know, God bless. So,
What a gift
We're thankful that you played through as well. They're heroes for sure.
Always.
Oh, geez, look at the clock.
When you retire, you gotta be. Okay, we just got back from our very first cruise, my wife and I, we were 15 people. We left New Orleans, went to Cozumel, came back, spent 2 extra days back in New Orleans. We had a swamp tour, a ghost tour, and a Bourbon Street tour. Great, it was unbelievable time. Thank you.
Your tan mixed in, right? Your tan mixed.
I'm a little bit slower.
Why? Joyce, how are you?
This big 6 hours.
So I'm giving her some money because the idea of retirement has been really a breath of fresh air. Nobody believed I did it, so I should probably get even more from the company because I have stayed out of the office for 3 months. Actually, I haven't been back even yet. So it's been really joyful and I'm enjoying it. And if my tan's off, it's because I've been back for a week. Sorry. And from this view, it's really something to see all these old folks here.
Thank you, dear.
Anybody else? Any more happiness?
Anybody else? Joyce is happy.
Good.
Joyce is happy to be here. I'm 5 weeks out from my back surgery. But the thing that brings me the greatest happiness this week is that our U.S. Marines was promoted to major. About a week ago, if you were on deployment and you were on a beach somewhere in South Korea. So I got to see a picture of it and that's it. But very proud of that kid.
There you go. That's great.
Hi, thank you very much, General. I'm not gonna steal any birthday thunder because I want to save the remainder of our time for the guests that are here today. This is a real special treat. But I do want to make sure that we honor a couple of things that are coming up. Next week, Clint Cahill is speaking to us, talking about Baptist Hospital and what changes are coming in the Baptist Hospital system in Oldham County. That's going to be worth being a part of. A couple of the things coming as well. We are actually going to be adding Jason Radford, the superintendent, to the schedule as well. So we got some really great things happening, and I don't want that to be left out. So the only person who is happier about this day today than me is Bill Landis. Come on up, Bill.
All right, Bill.
I'm so honored that all these past presidents showed up to be honored today. But before we get started, there's 2 very special people here that rarely show up, but they are the benefactors. They're the giver of the goose for the Grange Rotary, and that is Mike Foster and Mary Jane Foster. His wife. Long time supporters of the Grange Rotary. They have run this honest favor, thank God. Bless your heart. Well, we're not, we're honored to have you all, those here. So, Blaine, Joe, can you do me a favor, just hold that plaque up?
Glad I still got it.
Yeah.
Don't talk, Joe, just stand there and
Yeah, that's all you got to do. That's your,
Look good.
That's your deal. There's nearly 100 LaGrange Rotary Club presidents on this plaque. And they each have practiced service before self. Now, how have they practiced service before self? The ultimate Rotary Club service is to be a president, in which you lead, engage, inspire, and promote Rotary. And I'm so glad we got, Howard makes 19 past presidents here. I acknowledge to, that wanted to be here, but some, they say something come up. Gary Hardy acknowledged it, Dave Vogel acknowledged it. Mark Hartson is, setting up a foundation for his brother in Lexington today. Norm Palorito wanted to make it but couldn't, and Denise Watts Wilson had a conflict also. But thank you, Jill. Appreciate it. So we're trying to raise some money. Blaine's got to figure it out, and Hartson got to figure out a way to buy the next plaque for the next 96. So the oldest past president, 1975 to 1976, is this young man in the red over here by the name of Harold Smith. And Harold, if you wouldn't mind just telling us about your year as president. And Harold likes to talk, so I'll give his chair at the appropriate time. Harold, go ahead.
Still my thunder. Well, that old song says it's nice to be back home again.
Amen.
And for 57 years on Tuesday of every week, I found out where we were meeting. I came for 57 years. I joined Rotary in 1967. Most of you weren't born by then, but it's been a wonderful trip. And in let's see, it was 48 years ago. 48 years ago. The year was 1975. And I was a handsome young lawyer at the age of 38 when I was president of this club. Now, Tommy, don't correct me on that. I was a lawyer anyway, whether I was handsome or not. So now, but we had a wonderful year. You know, most of you don't remember, but we had just been approved. We didn't have to make we didn't have to pay long distance charges to call Louisville. When I first came out here, Dick Radcliffe had just been at Green Valley and just placed that first call to Louisville without charges, you know, to Louisville. And Louis Nunn had just dedicated I-71, and LaGrange City Council had all resigned, and all we had to appoint a new council for everybody. And I was working as city attorney trying to save Mallory Taylor, meeting every other Monday night to borrow money, trying to keep Mallory Taylor alive. We kept it alive for a while, and we invited Baptist out here for a while. But we had a wonderful year. Our theme was radio, and we had we rented the gym, and we had a big party, big party for the 50th anniversary. Yeah. Rotary was established in 1925. I was president of Rotary in the 50th anniversary in 1975. I was also awarded in the year 2000 when we celebrated the 75. And I'm hoping during 2025 when we do 100. Right? Yeah.
Amen.
Where did you all meet, Harold?
We met everywhere. We met actually, as I remember, we were in the basement of the Methodist church. And then actually, what's his name? Yes, no, it was Chester Stanford. Chester would sit there with a cigarette. We wondered if the ash was going to fall off or not, you know. And we rented the gym. We played radio. Actually, Wendell Moore, where's Wendell? Wendell and Betty were Pepper, McGee, and Molly. You remember that? You all, we opened the closet, everything fell out on Wendell and Betty Moore with McGee and Molly. We played Roosevelt's This Is a Day in Infamy, you know. And Betty Davenport did the Charleston for us. And we had a great time. And the next governor, whose name is Tom Duncan Reed, made a gavel out of poplar off his farm, and he gave a gavel to us that day, and we still have that gavel somewhere. I hope it's not lost. Tom Duncan Reed, Vice President.
Hmm.
But a great year. And I've had a wonderful trip. This is 7 years in Rotary. And I've had a wonderful trip in Rotary. Some of the greatest guys and girls I've ever met have been in Rotary. And I would call about another half hour.
Now, Harold, just to put everything in perspective, because Harold didn't say it. But Harold was very instrumental in the American Red Cross in Oldham County and also the Good News Homes, along with a lot of other things. So service above self, Harold, we appreciate it. Following Harold was one of the young associates in the law firm, Travis Combs, president of the club in 77 to 78. Travis, nice to have you.
Hey, stay here, yeah, stay. I arrived in this fine metropolis in 1972, after finishing 4 years as a JAG officer in the United States Air Force. And I was desperate for a job, so I looked. And so my dad was with Commonwealth Life Insurance many years, and Sue and I used to go down to conventions. Yeah, and so I knew her as a young child, and I would see Harold, and he was gracious enough to bring me into the firm. I'm still practicing. I work with the county attorney's office here in Oldham County now, and I really enjoyed my stay as president of the Rotary Club back in 1976, 77, I guess it was. And I don't have all the accomplishments that Harold has, but he's been my mentor for many years. And I had a great time in Rotary. Unfortunately, I haven't been as long member as Harold has, but it's been great. And I really enjoyed being here. And I really appreciate Harold calling me and saying, asking me to come today. And I'm just very happy to do so. It's good to see you all again.
Thanks, Dave. So right after Tate, 78, 79, Ollie Howard, that Steve Schultz says, created the song All Hail the Rotary. When he was our song leader before Tom. Ollie Howard, take it away. What'd you do?
Well, I didn't do a lot of things, but as president, I had a lot of fun. And there's a lot of guys in here that are not present right now, just a few, that we spent some good time together in Rotary. One of the things we did, and for attendance is always a problem. And I started a team attendance program that I don't have. Well, it went pretty well. I remember. You divided up in squads, 4 or 5, maybe 6 people in a team. And your record, whether you were here or not, that was the attendance record. And so it wasn't for the sergeant of arms, which I was a sergeant of arms at one time, running around and trying to get people to be a Rotary. It was your classmates or your friends are saying, hey, you got to be there because we're setting number 2 spot and we want to go to number 1. So it was divided up in teams and it worked out pretty well, I think. We had a lot of good fun and attendance was improved, by the way, because there were a lot of people that had some bad treatment when they didn't show up. I remember Jess Dixon was tough on, he was tough on you if you didn't show up. But we had a lot of good fellows that I remember that are gone now, were just dynamic in Rotary, and they presented themselves to the rest of the group and saying, this is what you need to do, and you need to get it done right now. And that means be here. So that's what I accomplished if I accomplished it.
Thank you, Ollie. I appreciate it. Right on the tail of Ollie was Wendell Moore, who was county judge at the time, 1979 to 1980. Wendell's guest today is his son, Tim, who's instrumental and influential in a lot of community affairs. But Wendell, why don't you tell us what you told me before the meeting today? What was so meaningful to you about Rotary?
Thank you. Well, I'm probably one of the oldest people here. You're probably the oldest. 2 days ago, I became 90 years old. I'm still mowing my own yard. I'm mowing my own pasture, bush hogging, doing those kind of things. And of course, my son Tim lives right across the field from me, and when I need help, I always holler on him. The one thing I want to share with you is my time as a county judge. I joined the Rotary the same year as I was sworn in 1974. And one of the things that really caught my eye was the four-wheel test. Our four-wheel, I mean. You got four-wheel. And then I tried to, throughout my work as county judge, and then after I retired as county judge, I went with FEMA and all over the country, in disaster areas, and whenever I could, I visited Rotary, but it was very few times that we were in a position where I could. But the four-way test is something I adopted. I attached that to some of my favorite Bible verses, and as part of what I needed to live by. And I try to conduct myself according to the four-way test. And I think it's one of the best things. You can guide your life along with your Christianity. And I'm so thankful for that. I'm so thankful to see all these people that I worked with when I was the president of the Rotary, and I know there's few that couldn't come, and one of them is Steve Schultz. I'll just tell you a little bit about Steve and my wife. My wife loved to dance, and so did Steve. Steve's wife didn't care about it, and I didn't care about it either, because I was very good at it for one thing, but it kind of hurt my back and hips. So Steve and my wife Betty, they did a lot of dancing. Some of the occasions where we all went, and I'm happy to be here. I hope I'm here again later on, and I thank you all for backing me up as county judge and helping. I will share this with you. When I took office as county judge, our county budget was $250. And that's the truth. The only other income we had was from some of the elected positions, the sheriff and the county clerk. And I don't know what the budget is today, but I think it's grown to several $1 million. So I think the population of Oldham County back when I took office was 14,500. And now it's up in 60,000-70,000. So I thank you all for my invitation today, and I'll always remember you. And I see all these faces out here, but I'm reluctant to call everybody by name for two reasons. For one, I'm afraid to leave somebody out, and for the other, I might not remember some of them. Appreciate it.
So we skipped from Wendell in 79 to 80, the whole way to 90 to 91. And a long, dark-haired, tall, skinny guy by the name of John Westbrook, who became our president. John, have at it.
Well, first I want to thank Joe for doing this. This is a great thing just to see everybody. And I just want to say, when I first got in the Rotary, I was 30 years old. And
I just started my business years before that. I was a young, scared to death, young businessman, thought I'd go broke every week when I had to make the payroll. And be able to come to Rotary and be surrounded by people like this, older gentlemen here, that were so inviting and so encouraging. And they sit with you and talk to you and make you feel good. The county judge, you got to beat the county judge. Here I wasn't anything, you know. And that was such a wonderful, wonderful thing. And that was the encouragement. And I hope that's what's going on in this club today, because that was a great thing. And if it wasn't for Rotary, I wouldn't have got to meet the guy that tickled me when he came in today. And I'm surprised he didn't go over there and get John put up and turn him upside down. This is the first time we ever met John. Yeah. So 10 years later, I was the president of the club. And, you know, I just really enjoyed doing it. Kind of a thing that we just took as for granted back then. It might seem strange to you today. Our pancake breakfast was held under the funeral tent. One of our members was got a man funeral home, Dick Redcliffe, and he donated and put up his funeral tent, and that's where we would have our pancake breakfast. And far as I know, nobody died in that pancake. Now, this is the leap of faith here. You guys give me a little bit. This is the leap of faith here. So back in December, because we haven't seen these behind since the end of December. In the old Romero, there was an article after 45 years on the Fast Line Media owner Howard retires. So we had now put up with that, and Bill, from the bottom of our hearts in the Grange Rotary, nobody really gave a damn. Bill Howard was president of Grange Rotary in 1995 and 1996.
And you know, I wouldn't want Bill to be anything but that sarcastic son of a bitch that he is. So, and that's how we knew. So the reality of this thing started off is I have one of the more unique ways of how I entered into Rotary by the prison. Mike was the warden up there, Mike O'Day, and he and I were on I think United Way fundraising, and the next thing I know, he said, "Hey, how about you go to lunch with me?" You know, because I had Steve Schultz had been trying to get me to come to Rotary, and I'm like, "I don't have time. I don't have time. I'm building a business, can't do it." So Mike says, "Let's meet for lunch." Well, we met for lunch at Rotary, and you know, Judge, the thing that got me to come in is the same thing that got you, that four-way fest. I never saw it before, and when I looked up at it, I said, you know, that looks really worthwhile. So when I joined, which I think was in '86, so I'm there, and then when John was president, he tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Would you like to be treasurer?" And I'm like, "Okay, what's that mean?" That means you got to just pay the bills, right? Well, no, it means I had to, at that timeline, had to make sure we're collecting from everybody. I learned everybody at that timeline. I learned the names better that way than I did any other one. I was very thankful for that timeline. Little I realized that shortly thereafter, a few years, that I was going to be president, and Joe McWilliams was the president before me. I got to know Joe, found out he was unlike any principal I ever met, and actually hired Joe into our company, and was with us for a number of years. And then I had the distinction, I feel, ladies, of bringing the first female president of our club. I went to Kathy Bernard, who was the principal at LaGrange Elementary, and I asked her if she'd be willing to be the incoming president, and she agreed. And from that point forward, wow, look at this now, you know. So I feel really good and honored about that particular, taking that big step, and how it's improved our club and going on. And it really is an enjoyable club. And as long as you got this guy around, it'll stay fun too. All right. All right.
Right on Bill Howard's heels, Robin Lawson. 98 to 99, and as you know, Robin's service, not only as its president, but also keeping us up to date with Rotary International and funding and Paul Harris Fellows and everything.
Yeah, so 98, 99 was my presidency. And I was sitting there thinking last night, like, what did we do during my time? That's right, we did the courthouse beautification. Dave Vogel was on the courthouse beautification committee. And we raised $30,000 over 3 years, so $10,000 for 3 years. And what has Dave Vogel done the last year? For every bit of what we've done. So if you see Dave Vogel, tell him I got a phone with him. Anyway, but that's what we did through ours. We were, Trey Christian was before me, and it was a 3-year commitment that we were giving $10,000 to the courthouse beautification every year for 3 years. We kind of finished that up, or maybe somebody was right after me. My big thing was, I love about the club is it's check your ego at the door. Okay, everybody's the same. I don't care how big, judge, executive, down to the janitor. You come in here equal, and we always have Bill Landis to make sure we stay. I keep that way. I always had a joke of the day. I always enjoyed that because other things like Joe Spelker may have broken the rule a couple times. But that's what we did during my term, and Rotary's just become a part of my life. And then good Lord willing, I'll stay here for a little more years to come.
And Robin, thank you, Robin. And Robin takes care of us on the Paul Harris Fellows and dealing with Rotary International projects. Stanley Clousing was here for our 75th anniversary, 1999 to 2000. Stan?
Thank you, Bill. That was our 50th anniversary. I don't know, our 75th anniversary. Harold had the 50th. So, and we worked with Harold a little bit on the history of our club and to memories. But that year we did several things that were different. We moved from the Methodist Church basement to the John Black Center. We instituted the Rotary Wheel. First time we ever had that. And we also, there's one other thing I had here. Well, what we, at the time, the president each year had an induction dinner banquet. And each president each year had a $300 budget for entertainment. So there was all kinds, you can imagine over the years, there was all kinds of entertainment, but I was a little bit different. I had the Juggernaut Jug Band. And I still get misery from that from people. Especially Steve Schultz. But we had a big to-do for our 50th anniversary. We celebrated it in June, which is our founding month, June 12th of 1925. And we had a big banquet. We had all kinds of history exhibits, and it's quite to do. We spent over a year planning for it, as Alan knows, because he's starting to plan for our upcoming 100. So, but it was spectacular. And I remember when I first became president, the young mayor for some reason talked to me, and I said, well, this year Rotary's going to do something a little bit different. We're going to spend more time celebrating ourselves than we have, because it was our 70th anniversary. But unfortunately, the person who succeeded me as president was this guy.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I was there from 2000 to 2001. We met over the John Black Center. Hartson still gives me hell. I got us to 100 members. 20 of them, Hartson said we had to shake out within a year because they weren't worth this experience.
Wow.
And we tore down, we were able to move 2 units. So that was the highlight of 2000 and 2001. Now succeeding me, however, was Tommy Purvis, our musician.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's good to be back. I came here in 1996 to be pastor of Collinsville Baptist Church.
And I want to quote a couple of things that men that influenced me before coming here. Dr. John Oren from Ohio State was a department head when I was in graduate school, and he said, never let anyone in the community where you work think you're there just because that's where your job is. He says, be part of the community, and Rotary fit into that. And I joined the Rotary Club of Newton, Mississippi, way down south. They were a role for the club. They had lots and lots of fun. You might get hit in the head. And then my ethics professor, Dr. Glenn Stasson, who was a retired nuclear physicist turned ethicist. He said we've already developed enough to kill the whole human race. He wanted to work toward each initiative. He was on the east side of the Berlin Wall when he came down. And he was telling them one day, one of the students, I think, was kind of brown nosing, and he said, well, don't you think that was the Lord's reward, you doing all that good work in East Germany? And it embarrassed him, and he hung his head and he said, no. But I think if you'll remain humble and faithful, the Lord will show you a lot of wonderful things that he's doing and that you be part of. And that's where being in Rotary, a part of being in Rotary comes in. I've seen the Lord do a lot of wonderful things through people. One of my happiest things, I really had it easy. I followed Robin and Stan and Bill, and they've done a wonderful, wonderful job. I just had to try to keep the momentum going. But one of the most wonderful things that I enjoyed seeing happen was our international work with the hurricane victims down in Honduras. You remember Hurricane Mitch hit there, and we were going with the Dollarsville down there. You could build these little block houses for about $1,500. So I think for about 4 years in a row following that, we supported that. And one day while I was doing a program on that, one of the members who is here today came walking to me with an open checkbook. You don't know how happy that makes a Baptist preacher feel. And wrote a $10,000 check to further what we were doing. And another time, at least 2 others gave $1,000. Well, I'd do the program, they would come at me with a checkbook. So over a period of time there, I'd say Grange Rotary put close to $20,000 in Honduras and having those people have a place to live. See, if you'll stay humble, stay out of the Lord's way, he'll use other people to show you some great things that he's doing. I'm really, really proud about that. That year, we were able to continue to grow. Like these men that preceded me helped get that going. And that year, the district governor from Owensboro had a program called the Regal Eagle Program. The international president that year had such a hard set of standards to try to win these different awards. Many of the clubs didn't even attempt to fill them out that year. But I was naive enough to fill ours out, and our club won the Regal Eagle Award for our growth, for our membership recruitment and growth. And John Westbrook won the Regal Eagle Award for individually recruiting, bringing people in. So I was mighty happy about that. So see, I've got to see a lot of wonderful things happen. And all of you Rotary friends help me see it. Thank you. God bless you for letting me serve. And from 2012 to 2013, Sandy Darce Johnson still that still is probably, and Rotaract. Tell us about your year.
Well, my year kind of started out with a bang. The night that I was inducted, Dave Johnson proposed to me before the banquet. And I had to give up and give my acceptance speech. And I was just like, I can't believe that happened. Anyway, he's a great person. And I'm proud to say he's now in Rotary as well. One of the things, as Bill said, that year is when we got involved with Rotary Youth Leadership Award. And I, looking back over the 7 years that Dave and I participated in that program, we brought a lot of kids to a point where they never thought they would be able to get to. They started out coming, not saying 2 words, and by the end of the 4th day, those kids were standing up in front of 100 people and giving a speech. I mean, I was just amazed. They taught me a lot. That year, our theme was peace through service. It just, who doesn't love hearing that we can accomplish peace in this world through the service that Rotarians are involved in? The other thing that came to my mind was we started a commitment to help the Hope Health Clinic get their beginning with a commitment of $5,000 for 3 years. And I think we're all very proud of that. Okay.
Next week, 2014 to 2016 with young Jonathan Westbrook. Now, most of us as presidents, we just took 1 term, just 1 time. Oh, no, not good enough for young Jonathan. Jonathan had to take 2. Jonathan, tell us about it.
Thank you, Bill. Yes, most famous being too long. The president who preceded me had a change in career and left the state halfway into his term. So I took over halfway through his term. But I was young. I had a lot less gray hair. Didn't know anything of what I was doing. But people like Bill Landis, like Steve Schultz, like Steve Clausian were really helpful to me. Some of the things they pointed out to me was some of what you heard today, that our club had gotten a little serious. We used to be fun. We wanted to bring back some of that fun. So we brought back some bad jokes. We did some skit competitions around the Rotary theme. The first year, the Rotary theme was Rotary Lights the World on Fire. So you can imagine how good those skits were. I think Bill to this day still has 3 states he's not allowed to travel to. The other thing that we were known for is Grange Rotary been kind of known for just being a check writing club, that we weren't, involved in getting things done. So we tried to put some more activities in that we got hands-on with. And one of those I know we still do, which is in the holidays and helping the Red Cross to restock the pantry, and that's evolved a little bit. But it was always great to see the Rotarians together rolling up their sleeves and working through lunch or doing something like that. I think my time's up, so I just pay for quickly. The other thing that we kind of became known for, and I learned this at Pets, I have to give credit for Pets for teaching this, but Rotary had this reputation, even in what year did you say was 2014, of being a club for old white men and their fathers. And that hit a little close to home for me. So we as part of my term, really tried to ramp up the membership and attract young professionals to our club. So as Bill Landis famously accused me before, we threw a food truck party for all of my friends. And we were able to recruit Matt Williams, our current president here. So we rolled out the red carpet for you, Matt. We're here, so appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Right on, John. 2016, 2017, Joe Spelker.
Thanks, Bill. I took over July 1st, and in mid-September, I took a job in Indiana. And since we just had this scenario, Hope basically told me I wasn't giving up halfway through the year. And so I have to tell you that it was very challenging being across the river, learning a new job. I'm not sure that I did everything that I possibly could have, except for survive. And I want to thank Hope and the other directors and committee chairs, et cetera, for carrying that ball. I will tell you that I think I have a unique place in Rotary history. I presided over the only, to my knowledge, spring concert from the band here. And that's because I didn't know that the Christmas concert wasn't automatically on the calendar. And so I did not make the arrangements, and they didn't come in December, but we wanted to hear them, so they did come. I think this time of year, right before Easter, they came and gave a concert. I continued. I was loved my time here. A lot of good friends, a lot of good work. I moved to New Albany for a job, and I became a member of their club. They tried to recruit me to be president. I told them once was more than enough for me. I was happy to be involved, and stayed with Rotary until I retired from that. One thing that I've always continued, was proud of when I was here and continued, is the work that Rotary does on an international scale with polio. I tell people when they talk about the eradication, et cetera, I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of a lot of stuff we did locally. But I'm also proud to be a Rotarian, glad to be here today and celebrate with you all.
Right on the heels, 2017 to 2018, Hope Gardner.
So I had already been exposed to Rotary, through my husband. So when we moved out to Oldham County, that was the first thing that I did. I went through the leadership Oldham County class, was exposed to Rotary here in Oldham County. We were living in Crestwood. I had 2 small kids. There's no way I was getting up at 7:30 in the morning to make their meetings. So what worked perfect was noon. So here I am. Thoroughly love Rotary. Very, very thankful to Joe that he did not leave me high and dry, because I had just seen 1 or 2 presidents that we had gone through that had kind of changed midstream, and I'm very thankful. What did happen during my year is we were over at John Black. We had an arrangement with the Arvin Center to provide food. 2 weeks before school started, their chef left and we had no food. So I really think that most of my year was kind of running around finding food for lunch for everybody. Would bring it in, would go get it, would try to figure out how many people we were having, who was going to be there. And so I did that. We also worked with Mark Carson, and he did a thing where we were tracking our service hours, and we had set our goal at, I think, 10,000 hours. And I think that year we tracked, we doubled that. I think we had way more than what we had set our goal for. So I think that just shows how amazing Rotary is and how involved in our community we really are, even when we don't realize how many hours we're committing to service. That's not directly related to Rotary, but just ourselves in the community. And so I was very proud of what Rotarians did that year.
Hope was followed in 2019 and 2020 by Lee that like to do crazy stuff, like jump out of airplanes and stuff. Barb winter.
Yeah.
It worked though, didn't it? I did. I jumped out of a plane. I foolishly made a bet with this club. We had not reached our every Rotarian every year for several years, and it was costing us grant money. So I said, if we meet it, I'll jump out of a plane. 3 days later, I was told to jump out of a plane. I actually ended up, I was supposed to jump out of the plane with Joe McWilliams with South Oldham. He claimed a heart condition. And so he sent Gail Story, and we jumped out of the plane together. Scared me to death, would do it again 100 times over. It was wonderful. In my year, that's probably my claim to fame, but I want to let you know that what I learned that year has carried on, and what you guys did carried on with people you don't even know about. Sandy and Ryla. This club sponsored 12 young people to go to Ryla when one of them was a family member of mine. He was from a broken home where dad was missing. Mom was addicted to drugs. He had no self-esteem. He had no goal in life. Didn't even know if he would finish high school. He went to Ryla and he became Mr. Ryla that year. And it turned his life completely around. He graduated from high school. He joined the Army, where he still is today. And that will be his career for his life. He has excelled in everything he did, and he gives a lot of credit to Sandy and that trip to Ryla, because his life would have been so totally different. So that's something this club has done, and that shows your service that you give. I was the president right before the pandemic hit, and I had made a second challenge for when Mike would take office, that I could spend 3 days in the Oldham County bed and breakfast in solitary confinement, or Sparrow could taste me, or they could get something else. Well, the pandemic. So I wasn't able to do that. So in place of it, I was foolish enough to apply to a US version of Survivor, which I got selected. Was the oldest person there. I survived all but 12 hours of the 8 days living out in the elements with timber rattlesnakes. And I was glad to hear that Mike also raised the every Rotarian every year, and that allowed the 2 years in a row for the extra grant money. So, you know, that is helping other people. This just, it's like a domino effect. And it goes all the way back to Harold. And then it just kept going, and it goes and it goes, and it's going to continue to go. And I miss Rotary dearly. I'm hoping to get enough of my life organized to be able to come back in the next year. With my job and everything, it's been a little hectic. The wedding just threw another loop into it, but know that everyone in here is family. Blake, you may not know it, Blake's first year as a teacher or principal at Oldham County High School, he handed me my diploma. His last year as superintendent, he handed my daughter her diploma. And she talks about him to this day, and she became an educator because of Blake Hazelton. And she talks about having to go in and interview for the master's program, and she wrote a paper, and it says, take pride in your job, no matter what your job is. Your job is cleaning toilets, take pride in having the cleanest toilets in town. And that's something my mother instilled, is a good work ethic. And I think that's what Rotary has instilled in me, a good work ethic to help others.
Thank you, Barb. Talking about I need to step up and be leaders. 2020 to 2021 is Mike Simpson. Thank you, Mike. You all don't know the quote that Hartson gave me. I said, everybody is entitled to 2 minutes. Hartson said it takes Mike Simpson 2 minutes to clear his throat. Mike, this is a leap of faith. Please be good.
Call for the raffle.
Thank you, Bill. I'm on the clock. Okay, let me talk about something that happened today. I was coming into the meeting today. Al was calling my name over out in the parking lot. Mike, come here. And so what we're gonna do, I have met Justin Thomas's dad. I have met him before. So our 100-year anniversary trip, we're gonna try, I'm gonna reach out and try to get Justin Thomas to come to our 100-year anniversary. We don't know if we're gonna be able to do that, but in the years past, everybody knows I was able to bring Marty Brenneman, who came here. We did a big function over there. We raised a lot of money. And that's always been my goal for this club, is to raise money, whether it's the NCAA championship, which I have to explain to this gentleman each year how the numbers add up. 2 + 2 is 4, 4 + 4 is 8, and raising money. But that's something I've had an opportunity to do, because when you are president of Rotary, it puts you in a position to be successful. And I was able to do some things, getting Marty Brenneman, did a lot of different things over my career. Judge Moore was my very first county judge executive that I served under. And I served with 5 different judge executives in my career. So finally, I made parole. I escaped from jail. I was able to retire last year. And that has been a blessing. When you have 5 grandkids, you have an opportunity to do some things with your grandkids. And this club, I love this club. I raised another $1,000 this year on the NCAA jackpot. And I will continue to do that. Doesn't matter, because that's what I really like to do. Barb knows what I did for the History Center.
He is the auctioneer.
Yeah. Well, when you can sell a carrot cake for $100, it's easy to do. It's easy to do. So I want to thank everybody that's in this room, all the past presidents, and this gentleman right here. I love him dearly.
Mike, thank you. All right, cleanup. One last for cleanup. Colleen Anderson, 2021 to 2022.
Yeah, who's that guy? And it was interesting following Mike's here, because, you know, again, as Barb mentioned, we were coming through the pandemic. In Mike's here, I was the program chair. We were oftentimes meeting remotely. I would mean from your own kitchen table, right? So it presented an interesting challenge recruiting a speaker. But the good news is that you could recruit speakers from anywhere in the country, right? All you had to do was dial in on Zoom. So we got some really, I think, some interesting speakers during that year. For my year, our motto was serve to change lives. And one of the things over the last several years, I really felt like we needed to get more capital S back into our club. And so we've done a number of things. We've, some folks mentioned the Polio Plus efforts. Last few years, we started selling Purple Pinky donuts. Again, for some of the older or folks that are no longer with us, we've sold donuts and we've raised or netted over $1,000 to contribute to the Polio Plus efforts. We have been helping out at the county fair the last several years. Again, just taking money at the ticket or at the for parking. And last year we said, you know what? I think there's another opportunity. Besides just collecting money, you know what? We had a little event. And yeah, we have some folks here that did a good job raising money. We said, you know, we could ask folks to throw their spare change in a bucket, and we collected over $2,250 for a Southeast Kentucky flood relief, just by asking people for their change. So a lot of neat things there. My big thing as well, Mike did his movie trivia. We continued on with trivia, but in this case, I also called my year the Back to the Future year. So every meeting, I had a trivia question, but it related to Rotary. So hopefully for some of our newer members, they also learned a little bit more about Rotary in that particular year. The last thing I'll say is I think I've got something that no one else in this room can claim. I have been a Rotarian in all 4 time zones in this country. I've been a Rotarian in 5 different clubs, and the last club before I joined this club was in Vancouver, British Columbia. I don't think anyone can top that.
Thank you, Brian. So going away different, what I call you youngins, you've heard from all these people that have given their time. Leadership, it's not hard. You just have to have a heart for it, and I encourage you to get on track.
Bill, this was a treat. Thank you so much for your effort. Let's give Bill Landis a hand. No words for me. I'm gonna ring the bell after we spin the wheel. So get out your red tickets. All right, it's gonna have to be purple.
Viking purple.
Yep. So whoever has the ticket, go ahead and read the last 3 on that one.
847.
847, of course, Barb Winters. There we go. All right, you know the rules. Robin will tell you if you don't do it right. All right.
Pizza.
Everybody. Thank you so much. Yes, I want to make sure everybody stays around. The past presidents stay around for a photo. Thank you, Jane Ashley, for putting that in the old era. This was a treat for those of us who are in the club. All you past presidents, the door is wide open for you anytime you want to join us. Thank you so much.